Kira's hand trembled as she stared at the 2 lines on the pregnancy test strip hidden in her maid's quarters. 3 months. She'd been undercover as a palace maid for 3 months, close enough to Vampire King Ryker to kill him a dozen times over. And instead of completing her mission, she'd done the unthinkable, she'd slept with her target. Now she was carrying his child. The Shadow Guild was sending increasingly urgent demands for results, and the dagger hidden in her mattress felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She was the best assassin the guild had ever trained. But she'd just made the worst mistake of her life. Before we dive into the story of an assassin who became pregnant by her target and had to choose between duty and love, between her mission and her child, between everything she was trained to be and everything she's becoming, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel brings you stories where the hunter becomes the hunted, where duty collides with desire, and where sometimes the most dangerous mission is the one we give ourselves. Now let's discover how a perfect assassin made the perfect mistake. Chapter 1: The Infiltration. 15 years ago. Kira had been 8 years old when the vampire soldiers burned her village. She remembered the screaming. The smoke. Her mother pushed her into a root cellar and whispered, "Don't make a sound, no matter what you hear," before the soldiers found her. Kira had stayed silent. Even when she heard her mother's screams stop. Even when the village burned to ash above her. Even when the Shadow Guild found her 3 days later, half dead from thirst, completely dead inside. "This one has potential," Master Chen had said, looking at the hollow-eyed child who hadn't cried once. "The ones who survive the worst make the best weapons." He'd been right. Kira had trained for 15 years. Become the guild's most efficient killer. Completed 27 contracts without a single failure. And when Master Chen had finally given her the contract she'd been waiting for her entire life, Vampire King Ryker, the one who'd ordered her village's destruction, she'd accepted it like a prayer. Now, at 23, she was finally close enough to make him pay. Present day, 3 months into infiltration. "You there, maid," head housekeeper Tomo called. "His Majesty needs fresh tea in the study. You're closest. Go." "Yes, ma'am," Kira said, bowing with the perfect subservience she'd practiced for months. She prepared the tea tray with careful hands, adding the right amount of honey the way King Ryker preferred. She'd learned his preferences over 3 months of invisible service, what he ate, when he slept, which guards he trusted, which routes he took through the palace. She'd learned enough to kill him a dozen different ways. The poison was in her pocket. 1 drop in his tea, and he'd be dead within the hour. Painful. Appropriate. Justice for every life he'd destroyed. But not today. Today, Master Chen's orders were clear: observe. Wait. When the target is most vulnerable, strike. Make it public. Make it hurt. So Kira would wait. Even though every cell in her body screamed for vengeance. She knocked on the study door. Enter. King Ryker sat at his desk, surrounded by papers and scrolls, looking exhausted. He was younger than Kira had expected, maybe 30 in appearance, though she knew vampires aged slowly. Dark hair pulled back in a simple style. Strong features. Eyes that should have been cruel but looked tired. This was the monster who'd killed her mother. "Your tea, Your Majesty," Kira said, placing the tray on his desk. "Thank you." He paused, actually looking at her. "I'm sorry, I don't know your name." "You're new, aren't you?" Assassins weren't supposed to be noticed. Kira should have been invisible. "Kira, Your Majesty. I've been here for 3 months. 3 months? He frowned. "And I've never learned your name? That's..." He rubbed his temples. "That's inexcusable. Forgive me. I've been distracted with border negotiations. But that's no excuse for not knowing the people who serve me. Kira. I'll remember." He would remember her name. The monster who destroyed her childhood would remember her name. Something in Kira's chest cracked. "Is there anything else you need, Your Majesty?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. "No, thank you. You may go." "And Kira?" He actually smiled at her. "Thank you for the tea. You always get the perfect amount of honey." He'd noticed. The target had noticed her preferences, her careful service, her invisible attention to detail. Kira bowed and left, her mind spinning. This wasn't how monsters were supposed to behave. Over the next weeks, Kira found herself assigned to the king's personal service more frequently. Tomo noticed her efficiency, her quiet competence, her ability to anticipate needs before they were voiced. "The king specifically requested you," Tomo said one morning. "He says you're the only one who doesn't make him feel like a stranger in his own palace. You should be proud." Proud. The assassin sent to kill him should be proud that he'd requested her service. Kira should have used this access immediately. Should have poisoned his food, slit his throat while cleaning his chambers, pushed him from a balcony during her duties. Instead, she watched him. Listened to him. And started questioning everything the Shadow Guild had told her. "Tell me about the border negotiations," she said one evening while pouring his wine. It was bold. The servants didn't ask questions. But he'd been unusually open with her, treating her less like furniture and more like a person. "You're interested in politics?" he asked, surprised. "I'm interested in understanding," Kira said carefully. "The servants whisper that there might be war. We worry." "There won't be war," Ryker said firmly. "That's what I'm trying to prevent. The human territories want autonomy. I'm trying to give it to them without the vampire nobles staging a coup over weakness." He laughed bitterly. "Apparently, not slaughtering humans makes me weak." "You could slaughter them," Kira said, testing. "You're the king. Who would stop you?" "My conscience," Ryker said immediately. "I've seen enough death. Caused enough death. I'm trying to build something different. Something where power doesn't require cruelty." He met her eyes. "Does that sound naive?" "It sounds unexpected," Kira admitted. "From the Vampire King?" "I imagine so. My reputation precedes me." He took a drink of wine. "Did you know I inherited this throne? I didn't want it. My father was the cruel one. The conqueror. I tried to refuse the crown. But succession laws are absolute. So instead, I'm trying to undo his damage. It's like trying to rebuild a house that's been burned to the foundation." "Burned. Like her village." "Your father," Kira said slowly. "He was responsible for the expansion wars? The village burnings?" "Yes." Ryker's expression turned haunted. "I was there for some of them. Forced to watch. Forced to learn strength through atrocity. I was horrified. Argued against it. He called me weak, broke my arm as punishment, and made me watch the next village burn as a lesson." He set down his wine, his hand shaking slightly. "I swore when I took the throne that I'd never burn another village. Never order another slaughter. I'd be different from him. Even if the nobles called me weak. Even if it cost me support." Kira's breath caught. The Shadow Guild had told her King Ryker ordered her village burned. But he'd been a child then. Forced to watch by his father, the previous king. Had they lied to her? Or had she been given the wrong target? "I'm sorry," Ryker said, misreading her expression. "That was too much. You asked about politics and I gave you my trauma. Forgive me." "There's nothing to forgive, Your Majesty," Kira said quietly. "Ryker," he corrected. "When we're alone, just." "Ryker." I get tired of being Your Majesty every moment of every day. It was a breach of protocol. An invitation to intimacy that a maid should never accept. Kira should have used it as manipulation. Another tool for her mission. Instead, all she could think was, I might be trying to kill the wrong man. That night, Kira sent an urgent message to Master Chen through the guild's dead drop system. Confirm, King Ryker personally ordered the village destruction 15 years ago? Or was it his father's order? The response came 2 days later. Why does it matter? The crown ordered it. The crown must pay. Complete your mission. Time is running short. Not an answer. An evasion. Kira stared at the message, her trained instinct screaming that something was wrong. The Shadow Guild had raised her. Trained her. Given her purpose. But had they also lied to her? And if they had, was she about to murder an innocent man for his father's crimes? She needed more time. Time to investigate. Time to understand the truth. Time she didn't have, because 3 weeks later, she made the mistake that would change everything. She stopped being an assassin for one night and became just a woman. It happened after an assassination attempt. Not Kira's. Someone else's. A vampire noble tried to poison Ryker's wine during a state dinner. Kira noticed the sabotage. Her assassin training made her hyper-aware of such things, and intercepted the cup before it reached him, spilling it accidentally and taking the punishment from Tomo for her clumsiness. That was the 3rd attempt this month, Ryker said later that night, when he'd summoned her to his private chambers to thank her. You saved my life, Kira. And before you say it was an accident, I know it wasn't. Your eyes tracked the servant who poisoned the cup. Your stumble was perfectly timed. You're either the most observant maid in history or you have training you're not sharing. Kira's heart raced. He'd noticed. He'd seen through her cover. I grew up in dangerous places, Your Majesty, she said carefully. You learn to notice things if you want to survive. Ryker, he corrected. And where did you grow up? You've never said. A village that doesn't exist anymore. One of my father's conquests. It wasn't a question. His expression turned pained. God, how many people in my palace are survivors of his atrocities? How many people serve me while carrying that pain? Most of us, probably, Kira admitted. And yet you saved my life today. Why? You'd have every reason to let me die. Because you're not him, Kira said, and realized she meant it. You're not your father. And killing you wouldn't bring back what was lost. It would just add more death to death. Ryker looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. You're extraordinary, he said quietly. Do you know that? Extraordinary and brave and kind despite everything you've survived. I don't know how you do it. I don't feel extraordinary, Kira whispered. I feel like I'm drowning. Then let me help you float, Ryker said, and crossed the space between them. He kissed her. Gentle at first, then deeper when she responded instead of pulling away. His hands were careful, respectful, giving her every chance to refuse. She didn't refuse. She should have. She was an assassin with a mission. He was her target. This was the worst possible complication. But at that moment, Kira didn't care. For one night, she wasn't an assassin or a survivor or a weapon the Shadow Guild had forged. She was just a woman with a man who saw her as precious. And she let herself have that. Just once. 3 weeks later, staring at the positive pregnancy test, Kira realized that, just once, had cost her everything. The mission. Her purpose. Her revenge. All of it, destroyed by 2 pink lines and a child she hadn't planned but couldn't bring herself to regret. She was pregnant by the man she was supposed to kill. And the Shadow Guild was running out of patience. Chapter 2: The Impossible Position. Kira had exactly 2 weeks before her pregnancy would start to show. 2 weeks to decide, complete her mission and kill the father of her child, or confess everything and face execution for treason. Neither option included survival. Neither option included happiness. So Kira did what any trained assassin would do: she looked for the third option no one had considered. "You seem distracted," Ryker said during one of their now regular evening conversations. After that first night together, he'd continued to seek her company, not as a king with a servant, but as a man with a woman he genuinely liked. They hadn't been intimate again. Kira had made excuses, terrified he'd notice her changing body, but the emotional intimacy had only deepened. "I'm fine, Your Majesty," Kira said automatically. "Ryker," he corrected for the 100th time. "And you're lying. You've been pale for days. Distracted. You barely eat during meals. Are you ill? Should I call the physician?" "No." The word came out too sharp. "No physicians. I'm just tired. The palace work is demanding." "Then take time off," Ryker said immediately. "I'll speak to Tomo. You need rest." "I need to work," Kira interrupted. Because stopping work meant losing access to him, and losing access meant the guild would pull her out and send someone else to finish the job. Someone who wouldn't hesitate. Someone who would kill him without question. At least while she was here, she could protect him. The irony wasn't lost on her: the assassin had become the target's bodyguard. "Kira." Ryker's hand covered hers, gentle and warm. "What's really wrong? Please. I've shared my burdens with you. Let me help carry yours." She almost told him then. Almost confessed everything: the guild, the mission, the pregnancy, all of it. But before she could, a messenger burst into the room. "Your Majesty. Lord Takashi has been poisoned. The physicians need you immediately." Ryker was on his feet instantly. "Stay here," he told Kira. "Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me." He was gone before she could respond. Kira sat alone in his study, her mind racing. Another poisoning. The third attempt this month, he'd said. But who was really trying to kill him? She moved to his desk, using her skills to quickly search through papers, looking for anything that might explain why someone wanted Ryker dead beyond her own vendetta. She found it in a hidden drawer: correspondence between Ryker and human leaders about granting autonomy to human territories. About dismantling the vampire nobility's power over mortal populations. About redistributing wealth and land. Revolutionary changes. Changes that would make Ryker beloved by humans and hated by vampire nobles. Changes that would threaten powerful people. And suddenly, Kira understood. The Shadow Guild hadn't sent her to avenge her village. They'd sent her because someone powerful wanted Ryker dead before he could implement these changes. Her personal vendetta had just been convenient motivation. She'd been manipulated. Used. Her entire life's purpose had been a lie. "You're learning things you shouldn't." Kira spun, hand going automatically to the hidden blade in her sleeve. Master Chen stood in the shadows of the study, having entered through methods only guild assassins knew. "Master Chen," Kira said, forcing calm into her voice. "I didn't expect." "You weren't supposed to expect anything. You were supposed to complete your contract 3 months ago." His ancient eyes were cold. "Instead, you've been playing house with the target. Sleeping with him. Developing feelings." He said the last word like it was a disease. "I'm gathering intelligence," Kira said. "Understanding his weaknesses." "You're stalling." Master Chen moved closer, his assassin's grace making him seem to glide rather than walk. "And worse, you're questioning. I can see it in your eyes, child. You've discovered his reform plans. You're wondering if perhaps we're on the wrong side. Are we? Kira demanded. Because those papers suggest Ryker is trying to help humans, not hurt them. Suggest his father was the monster, not him. Was I given false information about who destroyed my village? Does it matter? Master Chen asked. The contract was paid for. The crown must fall. Whether the current king is guilty of your village's destruction is irrelevant. It's relevant to me. Then you're compromised. Master Chen's hand moved faster than thought, a blade suddenly at Kira's throat. I should kill you now and send someone else to finish this. But you're still useful. You're close to him. He trusts you. So I'm giving you a choice: complete the contract within 3 days, or I'll kill you and everyone you've shown weakness toward. Including the kitchen girl who's been kind to you. The stable boy who smiles when you pass. And the king himself, though I'll make his death far less clean than yours would have been. You can't threaten me, Kira said, though the blade at her throat suggested otherwise. I'm your best assassin. You were my best assassin. Now you're a liability with a conscience. 3 days, Kira. Kill the king, or watch everyone you've foolishly grown to care about die slowly. Starting with. He stopped. His eyes narrowed. Then dropped to her midsection. You're pregnant. It wasn't a question. His assassin's training had spotted the subtle signs she'd been hiding. With his child. Kira didn't bother denying it. Yes. Master Chen laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. Oh, this is perfect. This is poetry. The weapon falls in love with her target and bears his child. The guild's greatest assassin, reduced to a lovesick fool. His blade pressed harder against her throat. Does he know? No. Good. Then here's your new contract: kill him within 3 days, or I'll tell him everything. Who you are. What you were sent to do. How you've been lying to him for months. I'll make sure he knows the woman he trusted, the woman carrying his child, was sent to murder him. And then I'll kill you both anyway, but at least he'll die knowing the truth of your betrayal. He released her, stepping back. 3 days, Kira. Don't disappoint me again. And then he was gone, leaving Kira alone with a choice that would destroy her no matter what she chose. Ryker returned an hour later, looking exhausted. Lord Takeshi will survive, he said. But it was close. Kira, these assassination attempts are escalating. I'm worried that. He stopped, really looking at her for the first time. You're pale. And you've been crying. What happened? Nothing, Kira lied. I was just worried. About you. About Lord Takeshi. About me? Ryker crossed to her, his hands gentle on her face. Kira, I need you to be honest with me. Is there something you're not telling me? Something important? This was it. The moment. She could tell him everything. Confess the assassination contract, the pregnancy, the guild's threats. Trust him to protect her. Or she could lie. Keep him in the dark. Protect him from the truth that the woman he trusted had been sent to kill him. I'm pregnant, she whispered. Not the full truth. But the truth that mattered most. Ryker went absolutely still. Pregnant? With my child? Yes. His hands dropped from her face. He stepped back, his expression unreadable. How long have you known? 2 weeks. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I didn't know how. You're the king. I'm a maid. This is impossible in every possible way. Impossible, Ryker repeated. Then, to her shock, he smiled. Actually smiled, bright and genuine. Impossible like peace between vampires and humans? Impossible, like reforming a kingdom built on cruelty? Kira, my entire reign has been about making the impossible real. Why would this be different? Because I'm nobody, Kira said. A servant. You need a queen of royal blood, not. I need someone I trust, Ryker interrupted. Someone who sees me, not just the crown. Someone who's brave enough to save my life and honest enough to tell me hard truths. Kira, I've been falling in love with you for months. This, he touched her belly gently. This is a gift. A miracle. Not a problem. Kira felt tears stream down her face. You can't mean that. I absolutely mean that. He pulled her close, careful of her midsection. Marry me. Not because of the baby. Because I love you. Because I want to wake up every day knowing you're beside me. Because you make me believe I can be better than my father ever was. I can't, Kira choked out. You don't know me. Don't know what I. Then tell me, Ryker said. Whatever you're hiding, whatever you're afraid of, tell me. I'll understand. I promise. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But Master Chen's threat echoed in her mind, 3 days, or everyone you care about dies. I need time, Kira whispered. Time to think. To process. This is all happening so fast. Take all the time you need, Ryker said gently. But know this, whatever you decide, I'm here. You're not alone anymore. But she was alone. More alone than she'd ever been. Because in 3 days, she'd have to choose, murder the man she loved, or watch him die anyway while learning she'd been sent to betray him. Unless she found that impossible third option. Kira has 3 days to decide, kill the man she loves and father of her child, or refuse and watch the guild destroy everyone she cares about including him. She's been given an impossible choice with no good answer. What would you do? Is there ever a scenario where love is worth more than duty? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to know how you'd handle an impossible situation where every choice ends in tragedy. Chapter 3: The Conspiracy Revealed. Kira had 72 hours to find a third option. She spent the first 24 investigating. Using her access to Ryker's correspondence and her assassin's skills for infiltration, Kira began piecing together a bigger picture. The assassination attempts weren't random. They were coordinated. And they all traced back to the same source, Lord Sato, the most powerful vampire noble in the kingdom. Lord Sato, who'd lose massive wealth and land if Ryker's reforms passed. Lord Sato, who'd been friends with Ryker's cruel father. Lord Sato, who had connections to the Shadow Guild. Kira broke into Lord Sato's private office at midnight, using techniques Master Chen himself had taught her. She found correspondence that made her blood run cold. The king must be eliminated before the reform vote. The guild has placed an asset. Payment has been transferred. Ensure it appears as internal vampire politics, not human involvement. Another letter, dated a month ago. The asset is compromised. She's developing an attachment to the target. Activate the contingency protocol. Use her emotional investment to force completion, or eliminate her and send a replacement. They'd known. Master Chen had known she was compromised and had used it against her. The threats against people she cared about, the pressure, the 3-day deadline, all of it was designed to force her hand. She was still being used. Still being manipulated. But now she knew the real enemy. And she knew what she had to do. I need to tell you something, Kira said to Ryker the next evening. Everything. But first, I need you to promise you'll hear me out completely before you react. Ryker put down the papers he'd been reviewing. You're scaring me. I'm terrifying myself, Kira admitted. But you deserve the truth. All of it. She told him. Everything. Her childhood. The village is burning. The Shadow Guild training. Master Chen's contract. The 15 years she'd spent preparing to kill him for something his father had done. The months of infiltration. The moment she'd realized he might be innocent. The night they'd been together. The pregnancy. Master Chen's visit and his 3-day ultimatum. All of it, in a rush of words that felt like bleeding out. When she finished, the room was silent. Ryker sat unmoving, his expression unreadable. So you were sent to kill me? Yes. And you've been lying to me for 3 months? Yes. And the pregnancy, was that planned? Part of your mission? No. Kira looked at him desperately. That was real. That was the one real thing in all of this. I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it. But Ryker, I swear to you, I couldn't do it. Couldn't kill you. Not because of the baby. Because of you. Because you're not the monster I was told you were. Because somewhere in all the lying and pretending, I actually fell in love with you. Love, Ryker repeated, his voice hollow. You love me, but you came here to murder me. I came here for revenge, Kira corrected. I stayed because I found something worth more than revenge. Worth more than the guild. Worth more than my own life. She pulled the hidden dagger from her sleeve, the one she'd carried for 3 months, waiting for the perfect moment to use it, and placed it on his desk. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing our child. I'm choosing truth over duty. Even if it means you execute me for treason. Ryker stared at the dagger. Then at her. And Master Chen? The 3-day deadline? Expires tomorrow at midnight. If I don't kill you by then, he'll come for all of us. You, me, anyone in the palace I've shown kindness to. He'll make it bloody and public. Kira's voice broke. I'm telling you this because you need to be prepared. Need to increase security. Need to protect yourself from the real conspiracy, which isn't me, it's Lord Sato. He's the one who hired the guild. He's the one who wants you dead before the reforms pass. She placed the evidence she'd gathered on his desk, the letters, the financial records, everything. I know I deserve execution, Kira continued. I know I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. But before you kill me, please, use this information. Stop Lord Sato. Protect yourself. And... Her hand went to her stomach. Find someone to raise our child who'll tell them their mother loved them, even though she was broken and dangerous and everything a mother shouldn't be. Tears streamed down her face as she knelt before him, head bowed, waiting for the sentence she'd earned. Ryker was silent for a long moment. Then he stood and moved around the desk. Kira waited for his hands to close around her throat. For the command that would bring guards to execute her. Instead, he pulled her to her feet and into his arms. You absolute fool, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Did you really think I'd execute you? After everything? I'm an assassin who was sent to kill you, Kira choked out against his chest. Of course you should execute me. You're a woman who was raised as a weapon, pointed at the wrong target, and brave enough to choose differently when she learned the truth. Ryker held her tighter. You're the mother of my child. You're the person I love. And you just handed me everything I needed to stop a conspiracy that would have succeeded if you'd kept silent. He pulled back to look at her. Kira, you didn't betray me. You saved me. Again. I lied to you for 3 months. You were following orders until you learned the truth. Then you changed course. That's not betrayal. That's growth. His hand cupped her face. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at the people who made you into a weapon. I'm angry at Master Chen for manipulating you. I'm angry at myself for not realizing sooner that something was wrong. But I'm not angry at you. You should be, Kira whispered. I should be grateful, Ryker corrected. Because you chose me. Choose us. Choose truth over everything you've been trained to value. Do you have any idea how rare that is? How extraordinary? I'm not extraordinary. I'm a killer. You're a survivor, Ryker said firmly. Who's about to become a mother? And if you're willing, if you still want this despite everything, you're going to become my queen. Because I meant what I said. I love you. All of you. Even the parts that were designed to destroy me. Kira broke down completely then, sobbing against him while he held her and whispered promises that she was safe, she was loved, she was home. For the first time since she was 8 years old, Kira believed she might actually be allowed to have those things. But first, they had to survive the next 24 hours. Master Chen won't come alone, Kira said once she'd composed herself. He'll bring at least 3 other guild assassins. And they'll attack when we're most vulnerable. Then we set a trap, Ryker said. Use me as bait. Let Chen think you've completed your mission. When he comes to verify, we take him and his team. That's too dangerous. Kira, I've survived a dozen assassination attempts. I can handle one more. His smile was grim. Especially when I have the best assassin in the kingdom on my side instead of against me. They spent the night planning. Ryker brought in his most trusted guards, only 5, because the conspiracy ran deep and they couldn't risk leaks. Kira mapped out the guild's likely approach vectors, their preferred methods, Master Chen's personal combat style. He trained me, Kira said. Which means he knows all my moves. But it also means I know all of his. Will you be able to fight him? Ryker asked gently. He raised you. He made me a weapon, Kira corrected. That's not the same as raising me. And he's threatening our child. I'll do whatever it takes to protect this baby. Our baby, Ryker said, his hand covering hers on her stomach. We protect them together. The trap was set for the following midnight, the moment Kira's deadline expired. Ryker sat at his desk in his study, apparently alone, apparently working late. In reality, he was wearing armor under his robes, 5 guards were hidden in the walls, and Kira was concealed in the shadows with every weapon she'd been trained to use. Master Chen arrived exactly on time, with 3 other assassins as Kira had predicted. Your Majesty, Master Chen said, emerging from the shadows with that unsettling grace. I've come to discuss a contract that was recently fulfilled. Fulfilled? Ryker played along. I'm not sure I understand. Let me clarify. Master Chen nodded to one of his assassins, who threw something onto the desk. A dagger. Covered in what looked like blood. My student completed her mission, Master Chen said. The false King Ryker is dead. I'm here to collect the final payment and... That dagger isn't mine, a voice said from the shadows. Kira stepped into the light, very much alive, holding her real weapons. Master Chen's expression didn't change, but she could see the tension in his stance. Kira. So you chose betrayal. I chose the truth, Kira corrected. Everything you told me about King Ryker was a lie. His father destroyed my village, not him. Ryker is trying to help humans, not hurt them. You sold me a false contract to serve Lord Sato's political agenda. Does it matter? Master Chen asked. A contract is a contract. You were paid to kill, not to judge. I was a child who lost everything, and you turned me into a weapon, Kira said, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. But I'm not that weapon anymore. I'm a woman. A mother. And I'm choosing to be more than what you made me. Then you're choosing to die. Master Chen's hand moved. Everything happened fast. The 3 guild assassins attacked simultaneously, one toward Ryker, two toward Kira. But Ryker's guards erupted from their hiding places, intercepting. Steel clashed against steel. The study became a battlefield. Kira fought Master Chen directly, student against teacher, weapon against weapon maker. He was faster. More experienced. He'd trained her, knew every technique she'd use. But she had something he didn't, motivation beyond money. Beyond orders. Beyond empty duty. She had a child to protect. A man to save. A future to fight for. You've gone soft, Master Chen said, their blades locked. Love makes you weak. Love made me strong, Kira countered, using a technique he'd never taught her, one she'd invented herself, improvised from necessity. She twisted, broke his guard, and her blade found his side. Not fatal. But disabling. Master Chen fell, clutching his wound. You, improved. Beyond my teaching. I grew beyond your weapon, Kira said. That's what people do when you stop seeing them as tools. Around them, the battle was ending. 2 guild assassins were dead. 1 was captured. Ryker was bleeding from a shallow cut but alive. They'd survived. Take Master Chen to the dungeons, Ryker commanded. And send guards to arrest Lord Sato. The conspiracy ends tonight. Chapter 4: The Coronation and Birth. The trial of Lord Sato and Master Chen took 3 weeks. The evidence Kira had gathered, combined with Master Chen's eventual testimony, purchased with a lighter sentence, exposed a conspiracy that had infiltrated the highest levels of vampire nobility. 12 lords were implicated. 17 were exiled. The Shadow Guild was officially disbanded, its assets seized. The reforms Ryker had fought for passed unanimously, the nobles too afraid of being implicated in the conspiracy to oppose them. And through it all, Kira stood beside Ryker. Not as a maid. Not as an assassin. As his acknowledged queen-to-be, carrying his heir. The court is in an uproar, Lady Akane, one of the few nobles who'd supported Ryker from the start, reported with amusement. Half think you're mad for marrying an assassin who was sent to kill you. The other half think it's the most romantic thing they've ever heard. What do you think? Ryker asked. I think she's the most qualified person to protect you, Lady Akane said practically. Who better to guard the king than someone who knows every way to kill him? She turned to Kira. The wedding is in 2 weeks. Are you ready? I'm 6 months pregnant, an ex-assassin with trust issues, and about to become queen of a kingdom that half hates me, Kira said. I'm not remotely ready. But I'm doing it anyway. Lady Akane laughed. I like her, Ryker. She'll make a fine queen. Probably terrifying, but fine. The wedding was small by royal standards, just 200 guests instead of 2,000. Kira wore robes of deep crimson and gold, her pregnant belly visible and unashamed. Ryker wore traditional king's regalia, his crown gleaming. When they exchanged vows, Kira included one she'd written herself. I vow to protect you with every skill I was taught, but to love you with the heart I discovered. There wasn't a dry eye in the ceremony hall. The coronation happened immediately after, Kira officially becoming queen, not through birth but through choice. Through merit. Through the unprecedented act of an assassin choosing to save her target instead of killing him. I present Queen Kira, Ryker announced to the assembled nobles and commoners alike. Survivor. Protector. My partner in building a kingdom worthy of our child. The applause was mixed with whispers, but it was applause nonetheless. 2 months later, Kira went into labor. It was fast and intense, her assassin's training had made her body efficient even in childbirth. Dr. Hannah, who'd been treating her through the pregnancy, said she'd never seen anyone maintain such control through contractions. Years of pain tolerance training, Kira gasped between pushes. Finally useful for something good. Ryker never left her side, holding her hand, whispering encouragement, looking terrified in a way he never had during assassination attempts. "I can fight conspiracies and poison attempts," he muttered. "But this? This is terrifying." "You're not the one pushing a human being out of your body," Kira panted. Fair point. 6 hours after labor began, their daughter was born. She was perfect. 10 tiny fingers. 10 tiny toes. A shock of dark hair and eyes that flickered between human and vampire, unable to decide which world she belonged to. "Both worlds," Kira whispered, holding her daughter. "She'll belong to both. Bridge them. Be what we're building." "What should we name her?" Ryker asked, his finger captured by their daughter's tiny fist. Kira thought about her journey. About the village she'd lost. About the weapon she'd been made into. About the choice she'd made to be something different. "Yui," she said. Meaning bind or tie. Because she's the tie between us. Between our worlds. Between what we were and what we're becoming. "Yui," Ryker repeated. "Princess Yui. Our bridge." The baby made a small sound, as if agreeing with her name. 5 years later. The kingdom had changed in 5 years. Human territories had autonomy. Vampires and humans served in the government together. The old cruelties had been dismantled, replaced with something newer, fairer, better. And at the center of it all, Queen Kira, once an assassin, now a mother and ruler, trained the new royal guard in combat techniques that kept the kingdom safe from external and internal threats. Again. She called the trainees. "Your stance is sloppy. In a real fight, that mistake would kill you." "Yes, Your Majesty," they chorused. 5-year-old Yui sat on the training ground's edge, watching her mother with rapt attention. She was already showing signs of inheriting Kira's natural grace and Ryker's strategic mind. "When can I train with the guards, Mama?" Yui asked. "When you're 8, Kira said, the same answer she gave every time. "Same age I started." "That's forever away," Yui pouted. 3 years, Kira corrected, finishing the training session. "And in the meantime, you're learning diplomacy with your father. That's just as important as combat." "Diplomacy is boring," Yui declared. "Diplomacy is what keeps people from needing combat," Ryker said, approaching with a stack of papers. "Which is the whole point. Hello, my 2 favorite people." Yui launched herself at her father, who caught her easily. "Daddy. Mama won't let me train with the guards." "Because you're 5, little one. Even princesses have to wait their turn." "It's not fair," Yui grumbled, but she was smiling. Kira watched them together, her husband, her daughter, this life she'd never imagined she'd be allowed to have, and felt overwhelming gratitude. "Kira?" Ryker prompted. "Where'd you go?" "Just remembering," Kira said. 5 years ago, I thought my only options were to kill you or die trying. I never imagined this." She gestured to the training grounds, the palace, their daughter. "A life. A family. A purpose beyond revenge. You chose it," Ryker said. "You could have gone through with the contract. Could have disappeared after confessing. But you chose to stay. To fight for something better. That's all you. That's all us," Kira corrected. "You chose to trust me after I told you the truth. You chose to believe people can change. That's what made this possible." "I chose you," Ryker said simply. "Best decision I've ever made. Even though I was sent to kill you. Especially because you were sent to kill me and chose differently." He kissed her, gentle and familiar. "You're the most dangerous woman in the kingdom. And you chose to be dangerous for me instead of against me. I'm the luckiest king alive." "You're biased," Kira said, but she was smiling. "I'm accurate," Ryker countered. Ew, kissing, Yui complained. Mama, make him stop. Never, Kira and Ryker said together, making Yui giggle. That evening, after Yui was asleep and the palace was quiet, Kira stood on her balcony overlooking the kingdom she'd once been sent to help destroy. Any regrets? Ryker asked, joining her. Kira thought about it. About the Shadow Guild and Master Chen. About the village she'd lost and the revenge she'd abandoned. About the assassin she'd been and the queen she'd become. No regrets, she said finally. I thought revenge would make me whole. But it would have just made me emptier. This, she gestured to the kingdom, then back toward their sleeping daughter. This makes me whole. Purpose beyond destruction. Love beyond duty. A future I'm building instead of a past I'm destroying. You're different from the woman I first met, Ryker observed. I'm the woman I was always supposed to be, Kira corrected. Before grief made me into a weapon. Before pain made me into something I didn't want to be. You didn't change me, Ryker. You just reminded me I could choose who I wanted to become. And who did you choose to become? Kira looked at him, at this man who'd seen her at her most dangerous and loved her anyway. Who'd trusted her with his life, his kingdom, his heart. Yours, she said simply. I chose to be yours. And for our daughter to have a mother who fights to protect instead of destroy. And for this kingdom to have a queen who understands both how to kill and why not to. I chose to be all of those things. And I'm still choosing them. Every single day. Ryker pulled her close, his hand resting on her stomach where their second child was just beginning to grow. Then I choose you back, he said. Every single day. For as long as forever lasts. In their daughter's room down the hall, Yui dreamed of training and diplomacy and all the ways she'd grow up to be like both her parents, strong like her mother, wise like her father, and bridge between worlds like neither of them could be alone. The assassin had become a queen. The target had become a partner. And the weapon that was meant to destroy had become the foundation of something better. Love hadn't made Kira weak. It had made her what she'd always been underneath the training and pain and loss. Humans. Flawed. Dangerous. And finally, beautifully, whole. From an assassin sent to kill the king to the queen who protects him, Kira's journey proves that we're not defined by what we were made to be, but by who we choose to become. She was trained as a weapon, but chose to be a shield. Was sent to destroy, but chose to build. Was meant to bring death, but chose to create life. If this story moved you, smash that subscribe button right now, because this channel brings you tales where the villain becomes the hero, where duty meets love and love wins, and where sometimes the most dangerous choice is choosing to be vulnerable. Drop a comment. Have you ever had to choose between who you were raised to be and who you wanted to become? I read every single one. And remember, being a weapon doesn't mean you can't choose to protect instead of destroy. See you in the next story, where love transforms even the deadliest hearts.